So we're still on our pillar of communication, and it's kind of an abstract one because everything that we do is communicating. And you know, we've talked about the nonverbal, we've talked about verbal, we've talked about the tools to communicate. And today I just want to talk about the communication that we have to have to the outside world as we're working our dog, even if it's in our own house and we're working our dog. There's still things that we have to communicate about what that outside influence is and how we perceive that. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things that we as dog trainers are constantly working on with our clients is they become so hypersensitive to the environment and worrying about what their dog is doing as it relates to the environment that all of a sudden the dog becomes fixated or hypersensitive to it as well. And just an example of that, yesterday I was working on targeting and naming the dog's toys. And he has a severe barking problem in the house at any little sound that's happening. Well, I was aware of what was happening, but he, as we're working on targeting, we're working on his monkey and his dog, he stopped and started like, here's the listen, here's my first cue, and the next thing that's going to come is start barking. Well, before he even had a chance to get to barking, his owner was like, oh, what does he hear? I can't hear anything. And so I'm like, I don't know, we're just gonna keep working. And so, but it was fascinating that she's probably cueing the next step for him of barking because of her reaction to the outside environment. Michelle, what are some of the things that you work on with clients on their communication to their dog based on, outside walking?
I think that's probably the biggest thing we work on when it comes to the outside world. Obviously there's stuff we do inside the house like that. Mm-hmm. I obviously do something to make Murphy's go to bed,
Right.
But I think the biggest thing we work on is, especially with dogs that are reactive to things, mm-hmm. is the first thing I personally do is I stop and I watch the people. I walk behind them and I watch their body language. Nothing that's going on. I don't care what's going on. I watch their body language and how stiff they get, or if they start talking to the dog, or if they start talking faster. I think a great example of this is Milo's owners. She used to be extremely reactive, but never with us. And I went out walking with her one time, and she would just get really tense because we were in her neighborhood and she knew there were dogs that were going to be there. Mm-hmm. But there was even times that Milo would start reacting and the dog wasn't there that day. And it was because her mom was getting tense.
Right.
So we had just focused on actually her. At that point, I came to the side of her and I was like, you're just going to ignore Milo. You're going to just talk to me. I don't care what's going to happen. We're going to go down the street. You guys don't normally go down. We're going to do it. And actually, unfortunately, that day, Milo actually did get a text. But all of a sudden, this little dog, luckily it was just a little dog, came running at us and just like, but Milo didn't react because her mom didn't react at all. Milo was just like, oh, okay. So her homework for a couple of weeks was to either go walking with her husband and go walking with a conversation in mind, or to be on the phone with somebody. If that was work, if that was whatever, so that she was not focused on Milo and the outside, nothing. Like her job was to not let that leash get any tighter than it was, and just walk.
Nice. Shannon, you live in, like where your house is a high traffic location, so just having the dogs at your house, and you have a chain link fence, and it's not tall either. Mm-mm. And so how do you help your dogs be successful? Because you don't have yappers. It's not like they're outside barking at everything that happens or curious about it, but how do you help your dogs in that situation?
I started by being outside a lot with them, so that then their attention was not to what was going on outside the fence. They had things to pay attention inside, and then once I wasn't there, they still had those things, like we have a lot of toys, and like I'm okay for them to watch, and I'm okay even if they bark sometimes,
sure.
Because dogs are dogs and they just bark at stuff,
right?
But I don't approve of chasing along the fence and being aggressively barking and stuff like that. And there's all kinds. My house is by the bus stop, so all the kids get off the bus from school and walk by, and kids love dogs and they want to see the dog and be nice to them and stuff. So I just like watch out the window and make sure they're not throwing rocks. That has happened. But if you start out with a purpose in mind that the dog should do before they have a chance to be bad. Like if all you do is let them be out there and the only stimulation is who walks by the fence, then you're asking the dog always to pay attention to that because they don't have something else. So you have to start in mind of what you want them to do and then see what happens kind of from there.
Right. And Melissa, we had a great exercise yesterday with the 2 dogs at your house, and reading the body language and understanding that outside influence and what was really happening. And so as we contained one dog and let the other dog in the yard and relieved a little bit of his pressure so he didn't feel like he had to be so aggressive to the intense German Shepherd that was constantly staring him down. What were some of the things that you took away yesterday to help the Golden Retriever be a bit more successful out in his environment, knowing that there's a lot of intimidation, but we want him to feel safe?
I think the biggest thing I always just think of, suck it up, buttercup. Kind of in like, okay, cool, this is happening, but we're gonna go do this. Let's move on, it's not important. And kind of not putting our attention onto the shepherd, because he has enough attention, like he has enough energy of his own, that we're just gonna go, oh, okay, let's go over here. I want you to go do this instead, I want you to sit, I want you to down,
Yeah.
Because they're gonna read our body language of how are you at reading this situation, and they're gonna mirror that. They're gonna mirror what the pack's doing. They're gonna blend. And one thing that I do with clients that are big coddlers, which I don't like. I mean, it's one thing to be nice to your dog, and you should, obviously, but if your dog's reactive, going down, it's okay, Fluffy, you're fine. Your dog doesn't know that. So I always give like the idea, like, okay, what if you went to the country, I call it dodo. We're gonna go to the dodo country. Somebody comes up to you and goes, dodo, 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 dodo. And starts like coming close to you. You're gonna think something's wrong, and you're gonna start looking for something to be wrong. Your dog's gonna do the same thing. If you start acting like something's wrong, that's communicating to them, yes, something is wrong. You're doing the correct thing by reacting. But if you move on and go, okay, you're fine, we're just gonna go and do this, and I don't really care what's happening over there, okay, I guess that's what we'll do. We'll go and move on from that. And so even if I'll even have the clients verbally say, suck it up, buttercup. Just because usually they laugh and they
Right.
that's funny. Like, oh, suck it up, buttercup. And who cares? So what?
Yeah.
Just move on.
Yeah.
We're not going to give energy to it.
Yeah. Michelle, as we help clients not focus on the environment, how do we change the overall feel to the dog that we're the one that's going to keep them safe, that they don't need to, worry about the outside influences, whether it's a reactive dog or just a dog I've had some come into the yard that they're just so worried about a leaf falling off the tree that just terrified them. And I know with June you've had to kind of work through some of that outside influence for her, that she finds random things scary. And so what are some of the things that you've done with June to help her, but also helping clients be the safety for the dog?
I think it's most important for the owner to feel that, because a lot of people don't. A lot of people are terrified their dog is either going to get hurt or their dog is going to hurt another dog. And it is our responsibility to make sure our dogs are safe. It is, so I think that's the step. The first step is to make you feel empowered that you are your dog's protector and should be, not the other way around. Your dog should not be protecting you. You should be protecting them, which takes time. A lot of people are afraid if something bad has happened. It is scary. So it's getting out there. It's trying as much as you can to do those things, like be on the phone to stay calm. When Rambo was a puppy, we did a ton of trust exercises with him that are really, some of them are a little bit weird at first, like you think you're like, yeah, I mean, I'm getting somewhere with it, but I don't understand really what I'm doing. Like it's good for the dog, but like it's a lot of feely type stuff, like restraint down and stuff like that. That you're like, there's a lot of tension going into this and stuff like that, and you're like, what is the point of this? That you see a huge difference over time, not right away.
Yeah.
Even learning downstays and being able to like walk over your dog and step around them and walk. That is really scary for a lot of dogs. Prudence still won't let us do it. Like it's just not her. Like she will not let us do that. But that was when Rambo really changed. Was doing those exercises, like, and then he was like, "Oh, you will take care of me. Like, I trust you to step over me." And so, I mean, with June, a lot of it is making sure she doesn't get hurt in those situations. And if she does, if something really scary does happen, not that she's gotten hurt yet or anything like that, except for hurting type stuff, but she doesn't care about that. So is kind of being like having Melissa's attitude about it, like I'm gonna make sure you're okay, but you're okay. Like as long as you're not actually hurt, you're fine. And a lot of that comes from within us because I get super emotional about my dogs. I get crazy. So that was probably Rambo's, like the hardest thing with Rambo was like being like, no, he does only weigh 8 pounds, but he's fine. He's not dead. We just have to move on. And I mean, Rambo got attacked by a boxer. Not every boxer is gonna attack him. But that was really nerve-wracking for a long time, taking him, and he was terrified of boxers. Like he would react to them, but I'm sure it was me being like, oh my gosh, like. So I think a lot of it comes from within you at first, and then it comes with you becoming confident. So that transfers through the leash to the dog becoming confident as well.
I had a client last night ask me what I do if a dog comes after you. And I wasn't sure where they were going with it. I'm like, well, I just keep going. You know, I like, all dogs have a bubble of, okay, just get out of my space. You know, and you don't know what that space is. It may be like the whole street that dog has claimed to be theirs. But once you get off the street, they don't follow you anymore. And we have a tendency to get torn in that situation where we want to help the dog because the dog's loose and maybe there's nobody around, or maybe we want to say a few naughty words to the owner, depending upon what's going on. And so if we choose to get aggressive, then we're just telling our dogs that it's fine to become aggressive, which is sometimes it's really difficult to hold back and go, there's leash laws and your dog is, my dog's not necessarily friendly. And so there's a lot of things that, emotionally go on in that situation where really we have to be the protector of our dog and suck it up and be quiet and just get out of there. You don't have to stop. It's not your responsibility to make sure that dog doesn't get hit by a car, that it's safe. I've had it probably the last several months up walking Cinco and Sochi, and dogs are just randomly like jumping fences and heading out with us. And I just have to keep going because stopping with, it's not that they're not social, but stopping with Sochi actually is going to create a problem for her in her funny little anxieties. And so I end up just getting my walk done and then going back and driving around the neighborhood and most of the time I see the dog out and it'll get in the truck and then I take it home because I know where it came from. But we get caught up into trying to save or, oh no, where you're responsible for your dogs. And that needs to be the most important thing. And then once your dog is safe, to get out. The other situation where this client was talking about was these two ladies, they didn't have a dog with them, actually got attacked and hospitalized this last week by 2 dogs in their neighborhood, 2 senior ladies, and they're down for quite several months because of how severe it was. And and what do you do in that situation is if a dog is that intent on attacking, you're not getting away. You're not getting out of any bubble. They are coming out with the intent of hunting, and at that point you just need to stay safe. If a dog is truly going to attack your dog, they're going to attack it no matter what. Like you can't get out of it, and the best thing to do is to drop the leash of your dog so that your dog can get away. instead of holding them in it and trying to get them out of it. And that's one of the biggest fears of, you don't want to drop the leash because you don't want your dog to run away and to get, but they are a bit smarter than we are and will run for safety. And your focus is just to stay on them and even try and deter the dog that's attacking yours, but ultimately it's still your responsibility to keep them safe, and the safest way in a dog attack situation is to drop the leash so that when your dog does have the opportunity to run, that it can. Because if we hold it there, then more damage and more fear sets in to your dog that you can't keep them safe either. So the outside environment plays such a big role in training and how we train and what happens to our dogs in certain situations. What are some of the positive things in training that we can do for our dogs to help them become more comfortable in environments?
I actually had this come up yesterday with one of my clients. He was saying that he loves being out back and doing like yard work with his dog and stuff like that, and he really wants to transfer that to the front yard. But he just doesn't trust his dog to stay in the yard. And this dog is totally fine off leash. She's always been really, really great. He's like, I'm just really worried. We have a lot of dogs walking through this neighborhood. I'm just really worried. He's a puppy and he's gonna take off after the dog. And he's like, or worse, like something else is gonna happen and the dog's gonna come over and attack him or whatever.
Right.
So he's putting a lot of fear on that already.
Right.
And I was like, you need to stop. It's fine. I don't expect you to take him out right now and just let him off leash because it's not okay. There are leash laws. So I just told him to go get a 20-foot long leash. He's got a great porch to tie him to. I was like, and just have him hang out with you.
Yeah.
I was like, and just ignore him.
Yeah.
Like, as long as he's not doing anything bad, just ignore him and see what happens. I was like, the first few times you do it, it's probably going to be pretty obnoxious because he's going to be super excited to be out there.
Yep.
But just ignore it unless he's doing something wrong. And then we'll start working on porch manners, on get to your porch. In emergency situations, if you have to get him out of the way and stuff. So I think the most important thing is to stop putting so much on it. I mean, Murphy is in our front yard all the time, and Murphy is actually my aggressive dog. I've never had a problem with him in our front yard because it's just something we've always done. Yeah. And he's always out there with us. And it's just, he does that. Even when we're doing our work, he has to lay down and just hang out with us, but he does.
Yeah.
So I think I do think it's really hard because a lot of people are afraid of what ifs.
Right. We create all kinds of stuff.
Right, yeah. But there's a lot of things you can do like that, putting them on a leash, whatever. I mean, there's a lot of boundaries that we can put up that so you are not as afraid to create whatever that picture is you want.
Yeah, for sure. Shannon, what are some of the things that you do with yours as far as just overall desensitizing and not letting them get worried about the environment?
We just do everything over and over all the time. I think a really good example is like going to the vet, right? People usually only take their dog to the vet when it has to go have something done to it, and then the dog learns to hate it, and it knows when you drive that specific way, it knows where you're going. And so if you just take your dog on a car ride and just drive by there and don't go in, then driving there is not scary anymore. If you just take your dog to go to the grocery store and drive by and just walk in and say, hi, we came to say hi, and then leave, then your dog doesn't get to be afraid of it. And if you try and stay normal, like not be weird about things and not have emotions, right? Then no matter where you are, your dog looks to you and is like, oh, we're just being normal. So it doesn't really matter what environment you're in if you stay consistent and you consistently make them follow the same rules all the time. It doesn't matter where you are because the dog knows, oh, this is how we are, and it doesn't matter if we're here or here or here or here. So you just have to practice and think about it a little so you can go, oh, well, if I'm driving to the bank, then maybe we can drive by here at the same time or something, so that you're exposing your dog to things all the time in all kinds of situations, all different kinds of people. Going to the park, going to the old folks' home, like everyone's busy, so I know you don't have millions of hours to plan, like taking your dog on outings and stuff. But anything that you think is going to be a part of your life, if you just like try and do it once every couple of months, then the dog won't get weird.
Melissa, what about you?
For our pack, like we always want to go on little mini adventures, and even if that's just going to the park, and we'll like just sit there and read for a little bit and then coming home. something that Nick and I really want to live our lives by, like never leave the dogs behind.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go out of our way to bring them places that are out there allowed.
Yeah.
And obviously places that don't allow dogs, we're not like, hey, we need our dogs.
Right.
But they'll go grocery shopping with us when it's cold weather. They'll
Mhm.
stay in the car.
Yeah.
They love it.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
take them these places, and if they don't like going to the grocery store, so Yuki, she gets super excited when people come in the car next to her.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't bark, she's not like
Yeah.
aggressive, but she's like, oh, people, and she starts like jumping up and oh. So I just grabbed a book and we went to the Smith's parking lot for an hour.
Yeah.
And I just read.
Yeah.
And she got to see people walking by and it was normal.
Right.
So taking the time to go and do those little things, and yeah, it might be inconvenient to you, which I don't
Mhm.
think it is, but if you expect your dog to be good in these places, give them those opportunities
Right.
to go.
Right.
Go on these mini adventures. Go on car rides. Go people watching.
Yeah.
Even if like you can just sit in your car with your dog and look at the world,
Mm-hmm.
that means a whole lot to them because they can smell the smells. They can read your
Right.
body.
Yep.
And just bring them where you can.
Mm-hmm.
And make them involved in your world, and don't make it a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm bringing my dog here.
Right.
It's just, no, your dog's hanging out.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just there with you.
Right. Right. I think that we forget that going on these adventures just to go sit in a parking lot and read is just as good as going for a walk
Oh, yeah.
for them.
They pass out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, so Trigger, she goes to work with my husband every day. She's the office dog. She's
Yeah.
even getting a bandana. It's quite hilarious. But everyone asks him, like, how does she just adapt? Like, what? How did you train her to do it? He's like, no. You just be in the moment.
Yeah. Yep.
Act like it's normal. And
Right.
your dog will follow along with you. But
Yeah.
if you're weird about it, your dog will be weird
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
I love it. I take my dogs this time of year. I take them everywhere. In fact, Rambo's with me today. But I think it's also really important to find those things that are important to you,
Mhm.
because if they're not important to you, A, you're not gonna follow through with it. But B, like, there's no reason for your dog to that anxiety.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that Rambo gets super insanely anxious about, and it's just not important to me. So why
Yeah.
would I put him through that?
Right.
I've got 2 other dogs that would rather go with me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know a lot of people don't have several dogs
Yeah.
like I do,
Yeah.
but just find those things that are important to you and make sure they go with you on stuff like that. At this point, like my husband loves to disc golf. Rambo cannot handle himself. Like it is so, because there's dogs at the park and there's so many people and
Yeah.
there's discs flying and Murphy's off leash and everything is just too much for him. So he just doesn't get to go.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. Murphy gets to go.
Yep.
June will probably start going with us when it warms back up.
Yeah.
Prudence doesn't get to go just because Rambo gets anxiety when she's not home.
Right.
So poor Prudence,
I
but
know.
I think it's really important. Like Melissa said, I even like the same client I had yesterday with the outside stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He really wants to like his goal is by next spring to be able to take his dog to a coffee shop and just have him sit at his feet.
Nice.
And I was like, start walking there now, like because it's close to his house.
Right.
I was like, just start walking past it now.
Yeah.
If it's really slow, just go get a cup of coffee and sit down and see what happens. You can always just walk away
Yep.
if the dog's misbehaving. If it's slow, I mean, I know you don't want to like,
Overflood.
right.
Yeah.
But just start walking in that direction now and just see how it goes. When you're eating dinner, have him sit at your feet so that
Yeah.
it's kind of the same scenario. Go sit on your porch with him on a long leash, but ask him to sit at your feet while you have coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
So if that's important to you, make sure that you do those things then. It's extremely important for Rambo to be able to go like camping with us and stuff like that. He still gets anxiety, but I mean we take him off road all the time because it's as soon as you get to road he gets really anxious
Mm-hmm.
and he still has a lot of anxiety, but it is half of what it used to be.
Yeah.
It's still really obnoxious, but he doesn't get the other dogs going anymore. He's just all over the place. But that's important to us, so we made sure that was something he could handle.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important though, because I remember there was one client we had that she wanted to take her dog up to Barley's to go swimming so bad that every time she did, the dog would get so anxious. And I remember you saying, then why are you taking her there? It's not for you.
Right.
Like,
Right.
why are you doing that? And it's definitely not for her. She hates it. So
Yeah. And I think that, as we wrap up the outside environment, talking here, it's, people ask us all the time why we don't do group classes, and we tell them all the time that it's just not normal. Like, one, you're not in a group situation learning, it's at home, it's out and about, and so, and that's what we believe in, and that's what we do, is train to what your lifestyle is and not to what you think that everybody else should be doing or what you should be doing. And I mean, I've got clients that are like, we don't have to go to the dog park, do we? Because I don't like the dog park, they scare me. And I'm like, nope, you don't need to go at all. The dog doesn't need to go. If it's not natural, normal for you, there is no reason for you to go for the dog, because your dog just wants to be with you. Your dog wants to do what you're doing and what is normal for you. And so, yes, we have to put our dogs in certain situations that are a little bit stressful for them, but if we don't get stressed about it, then they can feed off of our good vibes and the non-stress and go, okay, all right, we're not gonna die, you've got this, and I'm gonna be fine, versus trying to put them in situations that you're not comfortable in is not the right thing to do either. So, as we wrap this up, I would just challenge everybody to do what's normal and stop worrying about the leaves falling from the sky, and just do what's normal, because they're not gonna die.